Okay, we're gonna call to order the school board meeting. The only item on the agenda this evening is the selection of folks for the superintendent search committee. Everybody's got a copy of the letters of interest. And let's give you a little bit of information about the discussion that I had with Nora Behrens, who's our representative from the Bryan Group. It's going to be handling our search for us and sort of guiding us through the process. That she basically had said that when I explained to her how many folks had put in letters of interest, that basically we could accept all of those if we wanted to, and have a couple members of the board as well. It puts us at about 14 people, and she said that's an acceptable number. So that was my thought, was essentially to just accept the folks that have expressed interest. But obviously that's the point of this meeting, is to sort of, everyone's had a chance to look at the letters of interest and the information that we're provided, and we can sort of discuss what direction we think we should go. The other thing too is selecting the folks from the board that were interested. So I had wanted to be on it, but in speaking with her, she said that wasn't a good idea. As the chair, that they don't typically have the chair of the school board be on the selection committee, so I will not do that. Take her advice on that. But I guess now's the time for us to sort of discuss if anybody.
Just because I don't really get to do too much of anything anymore. I don't do any negotiating on any of that. I don't get to do anything, so I would love to.
And I do want to add that I apologize that last week at the school board meeting, I said I would reach out to the selectmen of Woodstock, see if any of them were interested. And when I did my notes this morning, remembered. So I did reach out, and Woodstock selectmen, one of them is interested in Cheryl or Scott. They're gonna decide whose schedule looks better. So they did not put in a letter, however, that's my fault.
Is that technically a requirement though, or?
No, but we agreed that at the school board meeting last week, I thought.
No, I have no problem with either one.
Having a selection from each town would not be a bad idea if they were willing to. So,
From each town?
Yeah.
So potentially two more people?
well, I'm kind of hoping I'm one of the ones on the board.
Oh, okay.
That would cover both bases there. And if not, then whatever.
I would like to be on it, but I'm happy for Joe. If we don't have the space, I understand Joe's desire. I don't know how you guys feel.
You guys want to be on it?
I am okay with Joe's, want to be on it.
That actually doesn't. Casey, do you want to be on it? You're all set.
I agree with you.
Yep. I'll vote for Joe.
You got your scissors?
No. Well, I'm just gonna ask you every single meeting how it went, what you talked about, and.
I'll take that.
So there's gonna be a ton of people.
Yeah,
I was excited to see that we had that many people interested. It's great.
and they did say the dates were Monday. Do we have a time? Is this gonna be like right after school? Is this gonna be at night? Do we have any idea?
No, so basically the way the process works is once we form the committee then, they'll pick a chairperson, and then the chairperson will work with Nora to start scheduling the meeting. So everything will be done by Zoom so that everyone can
fantastic.
easily participate.
Oh,
And that way, everybody doesn't have to travel to be available at a certain location at a given time. And then also, if we have candidates that are, from other parts of the state or whatnot, they don't have to necessarily come up here for the preliminary interviews and things like that. So
Makes sense.
so once they can, the first couple meetings are to sort of start to establish the criteria and the job description type of things. I think the board is going to need to work on deciding certain aspects of it, but, as far as we'll get that feedback from her as to, before the posting goes out. As far as like, talking against part-time, technically, whether we want it to continue to be part-time or full-time, or she said that we can sort of advertise it both ways and see, candidates are interested in what the candidates are interested in. So, I think that ultimately that part of it has to be the board decision.
Gotcha.
But the selection committee would be, sort of working on identifying the priorities of the district, the skills and things that the district wants to see in the candidates, and then start working on, making the sort of the checklist, if, for lack of a better word, to judge the candidates by. So
Gotcha.
there's a pretty structured way that all of the interviews happen. And it's sort of, it's designed to sort of minimize any biases or minimize any differences in the interviews, and so there'll be, it's a pretty structured format, sounds like. So I'm really optimistic that we're gonna get, it'd be a good experience for everybody. And, like I think I said in the last meeting, I did speak with other districts that have gone through the process with, and specifically with this particular representative, and they really thought it was great. So, but, as far as the scheduling and things like that, I think that gets worked out once the committee's formed. They have a meeting, first meeting, and we'll sort of decide what the best scheduling is. So.
Nora, she is our point person going through the whole process.
Correct. She's
at
the one
every
that will-
meeting,
She will run the interviews. So the way that she has explained it to me essentially is everyone's present on these Zoom calls, but everybody except for her and the candidate are screens off, listening. She conducts the entire interview. It's a specific process that the Bryan Group has developed. She called it directed storytelling or something like that. I think it's a very specific process that they have developed over the years to help flush out skills and of the candidates to make sure that they're checking the boxes that we want them to check. And so then at the end, after the interview, then there's a discussion amongst the selection committee about the quality, the candidates' qualities. And so it's a very structured format, and she's the one that leads all of it. She will help the committee develop the criteria but then once that's done, she sort of takes that and, walks the candidates through the process so that everybody gets a good feel for it. And then everybody gets sort of a fair assessment, everyone's being assessed in the same way. And I think that the interview technique is designed to elicit the skills and, because it can be difficult for like just an open-ended panel interview to get off track very quickly.
There he is.
So I think the idea is we can, she leads that process to make sure that it runs smoothly. But yeah, she's the one. And she seems very, very knowledgeable. She actually, she said that she's been doing it for quite a while. Like her father is the guy that runs the Bryan Group. So.
sounds like she's a lot of the number of candidates. Well, maybe she was okay with, well, what we had submitted, and then we would have
So
more on top of that.
yeah, what I said was, we have 12 folks who sent in letters of interest, and I think there are probably two, maybe three members of the board that wanted to do it, and she said that would be fine. She said that we just need to be careful that we're not running into like open meeting rules if we have two
Right.
members of the board, if like a group email is gonna end up having to be in a meeting, that sort of thing. So we just need to, that was one of the things that we wanted to consult about, and I think the answer is three, right? Is that
Yeah,
yeah, so as long as there's less than three board members.
right.
We're good.
Not a meeting of the board, it's only a meeting of
It's just a
the
committee.
committee, which will need to be posted, and those are public meetings as well. But oftentimes they'll be conducted in non-public session, but they're subject to the right to know law.
Okay, what about like group emails if with respect to the emails that go out from, our representative from the Bryan Group to talk to the members of the committee about stuff. Is that?
Some of it would be public and some of it wouldn't be potentially, depending on what it's talking about. If it's talking about candidates for the position, they may not be public at certain times, but eventually they might be public, and you have to confront, each kind of email as it goes.
Okay, I guess
They're not attorneys.
Yeah.
That are representing you, so there's no attorney-client privilege.
what I guess we would. I think the concern would be is, when we're conducting these interviews, it's the interview committee that's there
Yeah.
in that meeting, not open to the public.
Right,
Okay, and that's not an issue.
right.
Okay.
So yeah. Because you've got to have confidentiality for some of the people in order to apply for the position. And it's a legitimate reason to go into non-public session is the hiring and the consideration of the hiring of any individual for the school district.
Okay.
So that's a legitimate reason to go into non-public session, and so those interviews can take place in non-public session.
Okay, one other thing that we had specific to tonight's meeting was we are picking from the list of folks that have given us letters of interest for that committee tonight.
Yeah,
The board members wanted to have discussions about some of those folks before voting on whether or not to accept them. And it's, it sounded like some of that may fall into, information or discussions that may affect the reputation of those other than members of the board.
that's a legitimate reason to go into non-public session but you need to confine it to that.
Okay.
You can't vote in non-public session
Sure.
to
Okay.
decide who's going to be on the committee and who's not going to be. That's a public decision ultimately.
Okay.
So you have the ability to convene in non-public session, have brief discussions focused only on issues concerning reputation of individuals, et cetera.
Okay.
Not to have a discussion and debate about who you all want to have on the committee.
Sure.
Right?
Understandable. All right, then I think that we should probably do that now, because we are kind of we're kind of crunch time unless,
We'll just keep going.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, then I guess we don't need to. Then as far as, it sounds like we have Joe and Tammy from the board. Get them to be a part of it, and then, like I said, my suggestion would just be to accept the 12 folks that would be.
And Woodstock selectmen, they've shown interest.
Yeah, I hesitate to do that. I think we need to confine that to the folks that have put in the letters of
The
interest.
very first email from the Bryan Group listed.
But we put out,
Town supporting the schools.
we put out a notice. And nobody responded.
Explained that to you.
Yeah, I know, but we put out a notice to the public. Members of the public responded. They're members of the public. They ostensibly got the same notice that everybody else did. Nobody
Very true.
that submitted a thing got a personal invitation from them.
So I reached out on behalf of the board, at the direction of the board, the last meeting. I reached out to Woodstock selectmen and said, would you like to be on this?
Well, I don't know
committee?
if it was the direction of the board. You had suggested it was a good idea, and it is a good idea, and we do have one selectman, which is you. But I agree with that now that they did get that invite, just like everybody else, they would have gotten that information. And nobody else did get a follow-up week later invitation.
Just looking for the event. Well, I just think it's. The board agreed. I don't think anybody said, no, don't do that,
No, I think.
or that's not a good idea, or let's not do it. So
No.
I did it,
No, I think.
and I reached out, so now I should call her and say, well, forget it, the board doesn't want
Well,
you.
isn't she also a parent of the school? So she
Yeah, I mean-
definitely got the notice.
And then I wish that was said last week, prior to me reaching out to her, or them, I should say. And not all of them are parents of a school child. The other two are not. I just happened to reach out to the one that was in my phone, I have contacts for. It's not right. It's just the two agree to invite one of the Woodstock selectmen into the committee, onto the committee. So I reached out, and did that. And they agreed, sure, we'd love to be on the committee. And now say, oh, the board changed their mind. Now the board doesn't want you to be on the committee, even though we reached out and asked you to.
Well, it's
that's
obviously not what's
necessarily
going
the
on.
case, not that we
That's
don't want
exactly the
them.
case. That is exactly the case.
If they had submitted a letter of interest in. the
So
time that
last
we had put-
Wednesday,
that
you
we had
should have
put-
said, all of us should have said, no. They should have submitted a letter of interest, don't reach out to them. But no, we
No,
said,
the letters of interest closed today. That was the point, that we were accepting letters of interest up until today, which is what we talked about. I think that's the
And that's what
notice that went out said that submit your letters of interest before the meeting so that we could have that meeting.
I
And so-
absolutely positively intend to call them or go to their meeting and say, yes, we agreed as a board to invite the Woodstock selectmen onto this committee. And then at the meeting, when we chose the committee, the board decided they didn't want Woodstock selectmen on the committee.
And you're free to tell them that. Tammy,
Because
you're free
none
to
of
tell
you
them that.
submitted a letter of interest.
That's misrepresent.
Then
No.
my phone call at the direction of the board is not enough.
Well,
That's not okay.
notice went out. And you can, I mean, fine, and if they have any questions about that, anyone from the board would be happy to explain
Yeah,
exactly
no,
what
it's just
happened.
not okay.
And so I think we have to limit the selections.
We
to the
did not
people that
agree at the
submitted
board
it.
last Wednesday to say, reach out and see if they want to submit a letter of interest. No, what was said was reach out. I will reach out and see if any of them want to be part of the committee. It was, and we can go, it's recorded, we can go back and listen. Nothing was said about reaching out and saying, would you like to submit a letter of interest?
It's not fair for us to treat people that are on, just because they're on the select board any differently than we treat any other member of the public. If somebody walked in here tonight and said, hey, I also want to be on there, we're not going to say, okay, you can come be on there because you're expressing that to us now.
Did I
And-
reach out to, did any of us reach out to that person at the direction of the board?
And we all reached out to everybody in the community via public notices. I mean, that's fine. My position is that I think we should stick with the folks that have submitted the letters of interest that
All
were,
right,
that were
I'll
requested.
direct the board to listen to the meeting. It's fine.
We have to vote on that?
We do have to vote I think we do have to vote on the selection of the committee members. And so, I mean, I guess if someone wants to make a motion,
So we're voting on would potentially vote on those who submitted.
I'm gonna read the names.
interest plus Tammy, plus Jeff.
yes,
I will read the names if you don't mind.
yes, you may, ma'am.
I will make a motion to accept on the committee via letters received from Aaron Bell, Megan Doherty, Aaron, is it Goss or Goose? I don't know. Paula Hood, Kristen Minjamani, Deb O'Connor, Jason Roberts, Shannon Robinson, Paul Shertawan, Peter Stavali, Tara Tower, David Webster, and the two board members will be myself and Joe Bossi. That was a motion.
Is there a second? Any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstentions, and that motion carries. That's the only order of business on for this meeting, so I will.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Tammy.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.